This interview is brought to you by OKCoin Crypto Exchange, where you can buy, sell, and trade your favorite cryptocurrencies, and you don't have to pay high fees. OKCoin charges low fees, the lowest in the industry. You can also stake your crypto and keep 100% of the rewards. OKCoin does not charge any fees when it comes to staking. In fact, it is the only exchange where you can buy, sell, and trade Miami coin and also stake Miami coin at a high APY, currently at 280%. OKCoin also has a great referral program that if you refer a friend, you guys can split $100 in Bitcoin. So be sure to sign up with OKCoin, link in the description. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel, your home for crypto news and interviews. With me today is Bill Ottman, who's the co-founder and CEO of Minds, which is a leading alternative social network with over 5 million users. Bill, great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Bill, I have so many questions for you because it's very layered. As we head into Web3, we got social networks, we have the impact of social network on society and how it's changing our society. And we have crypto and the metaverse all layered into this. So a lot of questions for you, and you guys are doing some cool stuff, but I would love to get to know you a bit better. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I am from Connecticut. I was born in New York City, but grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut. That's actually where I live now. I lived in Vermont for a number of years after I went to UVM up there for school. But yeah, I'm kind of East Coast guy.
Very cool. What did you do before founding Mind?
The company was first started in 2011. We didn't launch our first app until like 2015. But, before Minds, I was a marketing director at the Gathering of the Vibes music festival. And so I've always been really fascinated by bringing people together physically or digitally. And Vibes is it's the festival is not happening anymore, but it's a pretty legendary event that gets 30,000 people camping, music and arts festival for the weekend with bands like Buddy Guy, James Brown, Damian Marley, Grateful Dead type bands. Just really fun. And but live events are really hard work. So and not necessarily as rewarding as you would hope.
Oh, I bet. I mean, obviously in the news, we have some kind of morbid stuff that happened recently. It's a lot of responsibility and a lot of work, I can imagine.
It is. It's chaos. And, you can't control the crowd. I mean, people are did you see the Woodstock 94 documentary?
Oh, yeah.
That was wild. And that's just what happens. I mean, people, crowds are crazy, but they can be amazing and they can do really beautiful things, but also not. And it's having that level of responsibility is tough. And it's similar in the digital realm. I think there's still responsibility, but it's different kind.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say it's very analogous to what's happening online now, and all the because human nature, right? It's playing out both obviously in the real world and digitally. I wanted to ask, when did you first discover Bitcoin or crypto, and what do you hold in your crypto portfolio?
Yeah, so I first discovered it probably in 2012. And Minds actually had a Bitcoin wallet for a while, and we had now we have an Ethereum based token, and we support Ethereum as well. But let's see. So I hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Minds. What else do I have? I just got the ENS airdrop. That was sweet. What an amazing project. I love ENS. I think that they just rolled that out so beautifully. And But yeah, I'm mostly just Bitcoin and Ether. I've kind of dabbled in other stuff, but I've kind of started to focus more. Those are just the communities that I participate the most in.
Sure. So tell us about Minds. How did the idea come about? How does it work? And what makes it different from the other social networks out in the market?
Yeah, so Minds is fully open source, which, from major social networks, none of them are open source. So that's kind of a huge deal. I think it's sort of a non-starter when you talk about Web3 networks. The next phase of social media has to be open source. So, even when Facebook comes in and they're like, oh, we're doing metaverse, it's a closed metaverse. At least from what we can see now.
Right.
And Facebook itself is incredibly closed and secretive. So yeah, we're fully open source. We are partially community owned. We did an equity crowdfunding round back in 2017. So like thousands of members of the site actually own equity in the company.
Wow.
We have end-to-end encrypted chat. So, we don't even want access to your personal information or data. We have no interest in getting in the middle of that, which is a pretty big differentiator. We share our revenue with our users. So like in Minds Plus, which is our premium membership, we actually take a quarter of that revenue and proportionally share it with all the Minds Plus members, depending on, how popular their content is and their contributions that month. So, and then we also have this whole token reward system with the Minds token, which is the ERC20. And based on your engagement, the engagement you generate, even just for holding tokens and also for liquidity providers, we're every day rewarding tokens to the community. And then tokens are essentially one token's worth 1,000 views. So you can use your tokens to boost your content for more exposure. And so that's the main use case, and we sort of did that in reaction to all of the algorithmic suppression on big tech, because they're taking away your reach. We want to give you more reach. And additionally, for liquidity providers, we have a promotion slot on the main news feed, which rotates proportionally according to what your share of the pool. So there's like this baked in passive free advertising for staking into our pool on Uniswap. And that's been really amazing. And so, otherwise, we're definitely trying to decentralize our infrastructure as much as possible. Our whole chat system runs on the Matrix protocol, which is a end-to-end encrypted, decentralized messaging system. A lot of our payments are harnessing Ethereum. We're working on some layer 2 stuff right now. And we're also working on Ceramic, which is a sort of peer-to-peer database and identity system, which is interfaced with IPFS, which is a decentralized file system. So we're really trying to, push ourselves out of the equation and, dive headfirst into Web3.
Now, it seems like you flipped the model on its head, and the model being what Facebook and maybe Twitter they're doing. You are rewarding users for their activity, giving them a revenue share to token and so forth. And privacy is a big part. So, are you collecting user data at all? On signups, what are the requirements for signing up?
Just an email, just so that we can verify that it's not like a bot. But people can have anonymous emails, so that's sort of on them. But no, we don't require any personal information. Obviously, don't force people to give us their real names or anything. And in terms of like our infrastructure is partially centralized, so it's sort of like hybrid. So it's not as if we're like not getting any data. Like just by the nature of having databases, you're getting data. Right. So there is data that exists, but it's not like we're not storing like personal information, stuff like that.
Got it. And a lot of what Facebook does, they've had like issues with different content and things that are shared, and there's a balance there between, well, because I want to make sure I say the right thing here. I'm for free speech, and I'm for free speech on social networks. But how do you find a balance of, okay, someone making something completely, let's say someone posts something about mines which is untrue. How do you find a balance that, okay, they can say that, but how do you regulate, hey, this may not be factually correct, but we're going to leave it.
Yeah, that's that. So I didn't really mention the free speech policy, which is really essential. So we typically try to stay aligned with the First Amendment as much as we can in terms of our content policy. There are edge cases like malicious spam isn't like covered in the First Amendment, but we do ban people for malicious spam. But if people we're not gonna go around. Yeah, I mean, if people, slander and defamation are things that exist that are illegal. I mean, but we can take a joke. Like if people want to go like troll us a little bit, like that's okay. That's you sort of. I think when you create an atmosphere of free speech, people have respect for the network more. And so, they're still going to make jokes and stuff, but they're probably not going to be as malicious as they would be on other apps that they just don't respect because they're just trolling for the sake of trolling.
Yeah.
But there's like, I guess, psychological aspect to it. And, not to mention censorship causes polarization and extremism. So we're releasing a paper soon that we've been working on for like a year with a few PhDs. And it's bringing together all the research about how censorship actually causes extremism and even violence. Mm-hmm. So what Facebook and big tech say is that, the content causes extremism and violence. And I think in isolated cases, it is possible, obviously, for people to be impacted by the media that they consume. But the vast majority of research shows that open discourse, civil discourse, free speech actually create much more healthy societies. So, because it acts as like this ventilation valve for people to express themselves. And, if you start shutting down people's ability to express themselves, then they have to resort to other means to communicate their ideas, which could potentially be violent. So, we have a moderation system. We actually have a jury for appeals as well. So if a user gets like wrongly banned or something, they can actually trigger a jury to vote on the case so that we aren't the only ones involved in the decision. So we're really trying to work on these different That's decentralized governance systems.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's very democratized. I wish other social platforms would do that because they have like this hard stance, and sometimes people get banned or their content removed, by accident or by misinterpretation. So that's really, I love that idea. That's really great. And then the community can participate.
Well, and we just want to be human. I mean, to be honest, like the idea of just getting banned by AI for some like stupid mistake that the AI made, and then your whole like all your work, your subscribers is just gone. That's scary. That's not the future that I want to live in. So, apart from our jury system, if people feel that something happened, we want to fix mistakes. We always want a path to redemption. We're never going to be just robotic. We'll always have humans on the other side.
For sure. Walk me through the ability to earn. So let's say anyone can join, they post maybe about specific topics, whatever it may be. And based on the interaction with their posts, they can earn tokens. Is that the kind of the mechanism?
Yep. Yeah, and there's a handful of other. We've kind of been playing with the reward system. So the rewards every day are broken down into 3 buckets: engagement, holding, and liquidity. So 40% of the daily 10,000 tokens are dropped on the community every day.
Oh, wow.
And 40% are going to engagement rewards, 10% to holding, and 50% to liquidity. So engagement right now is based on votes on your content. Historically, we have played with other engagement metrics that can help you earn, like referrals or comments and shares. But, to be honest, like we do battle spam in that realm, because like even on Instagram, people, the spam is so bad and the comments are so bad, and people will build up fake pages and then sell the page. And so there's always, no matter whatever gameable system you put out there, there are going to be people who game it. And so we are working on like decentralized reputation systems so that, inauthentic behavior is sort of not like more punished and detected when you get like these little rings of activity, and they kind of are all going around trying to exploit the system. But the upvotes and downvotes do work. I mean, Reddit has had success with that system. And so yeah, that's there's the engagement. And then just for holding on chain in MetaMask, there can be daily rewards. And then we have an interface to directly stake into the Uniswap pool through our app. And those are the most aggressive rewards. And so the rewards actually get dropped off chain. So we have a whole off chain system to kind of just deal with the gas, so that you can use them. But you can withdraw on chain anytime, and we encourage that.
Very cool. And any particular reason why you chose the Ethereum blockchain? What was it kind of the solution at the time? Obviously a great platform, the first smart contract platform, but I'm curious about the history there of why Ethereum was chosen.
Yeah, I mean, so we had a point system before we even moved to a blockchain. But when we first launched the app in 2015, we just had these points, and users could earn them for all these different activities. And 1 point was equivalent to 1 view. After Ethereum launched and Bitcoin was really gaining traction, our whole community was just like, you got to tokenize this. And we agreed, because we want to give people sovereignty over their rewards, and it's more transparent system. And there was nothing else that was viable back in like early, late 2017, early 2018.
Right.
And there were a couple others that we looked at, like Stellar, and I think Neo was another smart contract platform. And, we looked at them, but the developer tools were just nowhere close, and the community was just nowhere close. So, we've actually really enjoyed the Ethereum ecosystem, and the gas fees are definitely, what they are. But I think that it's just a great community, and Uniswap particularly is just a game changer, and no other blockchain has anything close that I've been able to see. I know that there's some other chains that are working on decentralized exchanges, but just in terms of the activity, and just the other token standards, Ethereum also has, most popular NFT token standards, which we're starting to look at. And so, and I think with L2, things are getting way better on the gas front. So like we're working on Scale and Polygon, and, we're going to keep kind of being agnostic and experimenting with as many different layer 2 solutions as we can, and to really see what ultimately makes the most sense. But, we also enable Bitcoin tipping, and I'm totally open to other chains like getting involved with the network. Like we actually support posting to Arweave. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No.
They're on Coinbase, and go to arweave.org. But they are basically a decentralized content storage system. So you can, when you make a post on Minds, you can optionally have it also post to Arweave, which is an immutable, decentralized content system. And so, you know, if developers want to dive in, we're totally open to having more options. So we're not, you know, one chain to rule them all. Like that doesn't really make sense.
Right. And yeah, to your point, at the time when you guys came up, we're building this, the Ethereum was the only viable. Thank goodness you didn't go with Neo because
right.
yeah, they've had so much problems. Very cool. So I want to talk a bit about social networks and the impact it has had on society. You guys obviously have a great solution, which I think is disruptive to what's already there. But how do we get people to go through that mind change? Okay, what's happening on Facebook is not ideal. How do we go to Web3? And maybe this is just, it has to go through its adoption curve for a solution like yours. But I'm curious, what's your vision and getting people to migrate over?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, we're finding it's happening naturally. I mean, people are looking for alternatives, you know, particularly the crypto community is waking up to, you know, obviously censorship issues, privacy issues, crypto, you know, originally crypto is cryptography, not cryptocurrency. So that's sort of the roots of the movement. But I think that people are just generally going to look for platforms that reward them the most. And that's kind of what Web3 represents. It's like the users come first. The users own their reality. And so it's, you know, but it's going to take time because, you know, there's still UX quirks that are getting worked out with, like, you know, the wallet connect and all of these kinds of flows that people aren't used to. I mean, most people don't even know like what a crypto wallet is. They don't know what a private key is. They don't. So in that sense, we do try to make it easy. Like, you don't need to have an on-chain wallet to sign up. Like the experience feels similar to other apps. And, you know, in a sense, I think it's important to get the freedom and the crypto sort of into the background and have it feel more seamless and have the value just be there. I mean, like, you know, the main difference is that on mine, you have a wallet and, you know, every day you like see earnings. So like you're actually getting something for participating, and we want to help you actually get the word out about your content. We're coming from a creators first mentality. So I think that that's just obvious. I mean, it's not like either or, you know, if you're on Instagram and Twitter, like there's no reason not to just, you know, set up on mine. We actually just launched a whole Twitter cross posting feature. So and we're actually airdropping. This is more for like bigger accounts on Twitter, but like if you have over 25,000 followers on Twitter, there's going to be an airdrop at the end of the year. We're doing airdrops every day. Like, wow. That's what Minds is. It's just daily airdrops to all the users. But so yeah, I just see it as a gradual process. And over time, people just want to protect themselves, because you never know if Facebook's going to take away all your followers or if they're going to screw up their algorithm again.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope people, well, I guess to your point, like through the movement of cryptocurrencies and just the decentralization that's happening on the internet with a multi-chain world, tokenized world, people start recognizing that they can get paid for their activity and have privacy and all these things that are lacking right now. You know, I'm curious if you guys are doing any studies or you're working with any groups or with the government on in addressing some of the problems that we see in social media. And I'm just throwing this question out there. I don't know if you are, and because I see such so there's so many things happening, impact on society. You know, are you guys doing anything on that front with any groups?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sort of relates to the paper that we're working on that I talked about. And I think that, you know, obviously social media itself can be psychologically dangerous. I mean, there's all the research about like the impact that it's having on, young girls on Instagram. They're all getting depressed, like people are committing suicide. And I think that research and like the addiction stuff, all of that is really important to pay attention to. But I think where the research is weaker is this idea that like Facebook, that big tech needs to censor more in order to stop the spread of like misinformation and extremism. That's a false argument. Like we all agree that misinformation can be a problem, that, extremism can be a problem. And, no one likes hate speech, obviously.
Right.
But the solution to hate speech is not censorship. Right. And none of the research actually shows that that's what fixes it. If anything, it makes it worse. So, I think we agree on the set of problems, but there's sort of a whole group of the media who is on this like censorship agenda. And they think maybe they honestly think it's going to work. I think that they do. They look at what happened with like banning Trump. And I think some of them actually think that that was a good idea. And I think it's hard to immediately tell the impact of it. I think that what's clear though is that it has polarized society more. So everybody who, was following Trump and was like diehard about Trump is now, somewhere else. And they're getting more of just like the loudspeaker from Trump without the balancing effect. So it's causing people, it's tearing people apart more on the long term. And, we're very like non-political. Like we care about freedom. We care, but that's not a political issue. Like freedom it should be universal. It should not become like, and again, this is why I think what's fascinating about crypto is that the left and the right both love crypto.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare that a tech platform can attract both, but the sound economics of Bitcoin and Ether and others are just attractive because they're fair, they're decentralized, they're trustless and trust minimized. So that I think is really where we need to be thinking about. And then in terms of like the mental health stuff, it's all about education. I think that reframing, we're trying to explain to people that when you see stuff on social media, like if you see something that really offends you, you don't have to have that like ruin your day or get super offended. Like you getting offended, that ruins your day. You're the one. So see, like remembering that there's a human on the other side. And, one of the co-authors of our papers, this guy, Daryl Davis, who does amazing TED Talk. He is a Black man who de-radicalized over 200 members of the KKK just by befriending them. And so it's like, oh, that's crazy. Talk to somebody that, hates you, show love to them. That's actually how change happens, not by just like banning people out of sight. So, people need to kind of grow up. I think big tech executives need to grow up and they need to understand that like compassion first. Obviously there's going to be cases where people are just, malicious spam or harassment and, making true threats of violence, which is not okay on our platform or anywhere. But, I think that we do need to look at the actual data. And that's what we're trying to do with this paper, because I think that it's just not obvious to people. People don't know what to think or what works, and they're sort of lost.
And do you feel like, social media came as a wave and it kind of exposed our flaws and insecurities and bad habits as human beings, and we haven't adapted to the situation? Like you said, like you see something, you don't have to get triggered and go nuts and ruin your day. But it's like, what if somebody said that in public would you act the same way, right? Get all worked up and everything. Probably not, but online you can probably easy, right? You can respond and all that. So maybe it's like we have to adapt and evolve to handle this technology. Is that kind of part of it?
Oh, for sure. I think that's a great point. I mean, always constantly asking yourself if you would react this way to that, that person's face, and how you like conflict resolution on social media is just like, people will just start by throwing firebombs as opposed to trying to be constructive and talking, or just blocking and ignoring it. So and I'm really interested in things that we can do in the UI and the UX that, don't, like on Twitter or Facebook, they'll be like, this is false, and it's like 5 fact-checking organizations that have their own biases. And, I think that is just only going halfway. It's not a balanced solution. What would be much more interesting was that if on every post there was like a little pop-up that you could see that showed all of the evidence on both sides, and actually like a probability score for its accuracy. Like, why is a social network telling us what is true and false? I want to decide what's true and false based on the evidence on both sides of the debate.
Sure.
And there's definitely technological solutions for facilitating that. It's not going to be easy, but I mean, that is a much more fair and transparent and, honest way of moving forward, because like every issue is so contentious, like whether you're talking about, health issues or politics, like, the abortion debate, like whatever it is, like there's people on both sides who have valid points on both sides.
Yeah.
So let's look at each thing on both sides. And then, the community and the crowd can sort of score it. And, again, that's not going to be perfect either, but it seems much more scalable and transparent than just like these fact checkers, which we have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I love that idea. You're giving the full story, right? So folks can see both perspectives and then make their conclusions from there. I love it. So I have to ask, is that something you guys are, fine tuning or trying to work on? And
it is definitely something we're trying to work on. And, the whole decentralized reputation and citation infrastructure is not like, there's no one who's really like, obviously we want to build on open source projects that have already worked on it, if we can. And so we're definitely in the research phase for it, because it needs to be done right. We don't want to build it in a centralized way. We want to build it in a decentralized way. And usually that's a lot harder. And so like when you're connecting reputation to on-chain, it's just, developing peer-to-peer systems, it takes more time. And
sure.
But I think that there, it could be a balance, maybe there's certain, like, because things move faster when you do it in a centralized way. So, you could maybe have both interoperating. But yeah, I mean, I would say over the next year, we're going to be focusing on that as much as we can, because it relates to sort of we are currently building a build your own algorithm and like echo chamber controller. So you can basically, we're going to be releasing it just for like data gathering purposes initially, probably late Q4. And what it'll allow you to do is say, like, on a slider, how do you want to see more or less people who are outside of your echo chamber? You can control that. And even just a tool as simple as that, it's not simple technically. There's all kinds of like machine learning and data stuff happening in the background, but that just puts the question in front of people and makes them realize they're in a echo chamber, and like you can change this, and you could actually desire to see stuff that you disagree with. Like that could be a positive experience for you. If you're, just because you're on the right and, you see someone on the left who says something you disagree with, or the other way around, like you could interpret that in like a way like, oh my God, I'm like interested in why that person thinks that. And it could be, and that's what Daryl's whole approach. And so the build your algorithm echo chamber controller is coming out soon, but then, the decentralized reputation and like decentralized fact checking, that I'm fascinated in that, but that's going to take a little bit longer, but we are working on it.
I love these features you guys are working on. I mean, it's, someone who studies a lot of digital marketing, Web3, what's coming, new technology, that's going to be so helpful. I think it's going to help solve a lot of issues and that we face right now in the existing social networks, and which are under Web 2, but that's why you're building the Web 3 version, which is really cool. I want to switch gears and talk about the crypto market. What are your thoughts on where we're at right now and the price appreciation or Bitcoin? And do you have a price prediction? And what do you think about the adoption and so forth?
I think we're right where we want to be. I mean, we've been hitting all-time highs like this whole week. It's been fun to see Bitcoin and ETH just hitting it together same day. And but I definitely am fascinated by the stock to flow model in Bitcoin. I think that, who knows if it's going to be accurate this year. I think that, this year it shows Bitcoin hitting like 100K by the end of the year. And I think that that's totally possible. So we got, Taproot is coming into effect on, I think, Sunday or Monday, which is like the big change. One of the biggest changes that's happened on Bitcoin since SegWit. And I think it brings some like good privacy features to Lightning and stuff like that. But then, it's like the NFT stuff is going insane, and Ethereum just has all-time high activity, developer activity, fees. I mean, ETH already flipped Bitcoin in fees. So I think that, I don't think about, like, I love price and I look at it a lot, but I just feel so confident in the principles of the systems themselves. Sure. That, numbers going to keep going up. It's just gonna. And unless some like catastrophic stuff happens, which just seems highly unlikely, like these are the most battle tested, audited systems out there. That's the beauty of open source and encryption, and, having the community just like grinding it super hard. And the transition of ETH to proof of stake will be, crazy to witness. It's like it's basically like landing it's steering an aircraft carrier and like trying to needle it into like the tiny little parking spot. It's not an easy maneuver, but I think I love how Bitcoin and Ethereum are, Bitcoin's much resistant to consensus level changes. The community really doesn't want that to happen, only in very rare circumstances, if ever. And that Ethereum is like really trying to push the barriers in terms of innovation and scaling. And so I totally respect both philosophies. I actually interviewed a Bitcoin core developer like last week, Samuel Dobson, who like maintains a lot of the wallet stuff. And I was really just asking him about governance variations between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and just asking him like how it really works in Bitcoin. And it's actually not that different from Ethereum in terms of just like the mechanics of how things work. It's more of a psychological difference in terms, of like when changes get proposed, the Bitcoin community simply like doesn't want to change consensus level peer-to-peer stuff. And in Ethereum, people are very open to looking at those types of changes. So I think that, but like, the economics, the token economics of both systems are so awesome. And, I don't know if there's other tokens, you want to talk about that I haven't mentioned. I'm kind of obviously it's a kind of focused on Bitcoin and ETH, but I think that the markets do sort of follow them. They're the top two, and there's lots of really cool innovation happening in other areas. And I think there's, I'm not a maximalist or anything like that. I just care about honest, open innovation and, fair economics. And, there's lots of projects that are trying to do it the right way. And I respect that.
Yeah, and to your point, like those two lead the markets, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I think we've seen the statistics show pretty much all coins follow Bitcoin's move at this point. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you highlighted NFTs, obviously a lot of it on Ethereum. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but are you guys in minds? Are you guys planning to do anything with NFTs by any chance?
Yeah, definitely. We just got integrated into Mask. Are you familiar with them? Mask.io. They're like they're basically an extension, a browser extension where you can like post encrypted content to Facebook, Twitter, and now Minds. And they actually have the ability to display NFTs on Twitter. And so when you connect your wallet, like people with the extension can see your NFTs, and you can like do NFT avatars and stuff like that. So we're going to be adding that to our Mask integration and probably doing it natively as well. There's been a ton of demand. I mean, there's like a social network is real makes, there's tons of we already have all the content. So, and we have the ability to post it to Arweave, which is where a lot of NFTs are already being stored. So, getting NFT display and then potentially minting and exchanging, like, yeah, I'm totally into that. There's no reason not to do that.
Do you feel the NFT market is in a kind of a bubble phase right now with the valuations? I think the technology,
of course. I mean, yeah, but also like art is always in a bubble. Like, who understands art? I mean, the modern art markets have always been insane like this. Like, it doesn't make any sense why why art is so expensive, and it just is. And people have to accept that. Like, you may not like it, but that is the history of art. People pay millions and millions of dollars for pieces of art, which might just be like a blotch on a piece of paper, but that's just what it is. So regardless of if that's a physical object or a digital object, like, sort of irrelevant. And art is like only scratching the surface of what NFTs are capable of. I mean, they can, it's just a unique token. Like, you could use that for an insurance policy. You could use that for, like I was talking to the guys at Unlock Protocol the other day, and they focus on tokens for membership, and like we do a lot of stuff with memberships, and so we're talking with them. But yeah, I mean, I think that for people who are just getting into crypto, I don't personally think that NFTs are the best place to start. I think that, go ahead, have fun, but like the base assets is really, I think, the smart place to start. And then like, yeah, if you want to have fun and like you like the art, go ahead. Like, art is awesome. I love art. If you want to spend a lot of money on art, go for it. But in terms of like speculating on it, it seems much more unpredictable than predictable like economic systems like Bitcoin or Ethereum, where like the economics are more known. So like, that it's going to become more scarce over time. And that just seems like, and not to mention, ETH is required for most NFTs. So like, if you want to be involved in NFTs, like, go for it, but you should also have the base asset alongside.
Right. Yeah, well said. I want to talk about real quick before we wrap it up, U.S. crypto regulations. Right now, there's a lot of chatter, lots going on in DC, primarily with the SEC. They're going after like everybody now. There's the Ripple lawsuit, Terra Luna. They blocked Coinbase lending. Gensler's threatening everything's a security, stable coins, everything. what are your thoughts, given that you're on the building side, and do you think like Congress needs to step in here to fix this?
I think that yeah, the language in the infrastructure bill is really not good. And I've seen some interesting analyses of it. It just shows that the education, we haven't invested enough in education for lawmakers. So, donate to Coin Center. They're like a totally necessary group. I've met Peter over there once before, and he's just super smart. They're all super smart, and they're just doing key work. And so I don't want to be like apocalyptic. I do think that, like Hester Pierce is listening. I mean, the fact that she's in there is really important. I mean, I definitely recommend people listen to like her interview on the Bankless podcast. That was really interesting. And so she, she's getting good information about DeFi and about the whole space. And I think that, look, like we need new rules. We need new classification. I mean, the old outdated securities laws are just not applicable to something that's an entirely new technology.
Right.
So I really hope that we can update it that can help American businesses benefit from this and utilize it. It's literally suicide for the US government and the governments that most rapidly adopt crypto and put out the most fair laws for crypto companies and with securities and all of that. Like, obviously no one wants scams, and securities are a thing, and some tokens are securities the way that they're constructed, but other tokens honestly are not. There is a such thing as utility token. Yep. I mean, there is a such thing as a fully decentralized currency like Bitcoin. And these are all different things, and they all need to be looked at totally contextually. You can't just say everything is one thing. So I really, really hope that the US just absolutely apes into crypto. There's no excuse not to. It's honestly like a national security issue. I consider it to be. I mean, if you look at El Salvador, it's so strategic, and they're positioning themselves to just be in an amazing position in the future. I think the US does have Bitcoin. Because they've probably seized a bunch of it.
Sure.
But yeah. I know that some states accept crypto for taxes, and there's some really cool stuff going on the state level, but it's just, block space. Controlling block space is controlling the future. So countries need to be doing this. Corporations need to be doing this. We're seeing corporations do this now, and, they're benefiting massively. Look at MicroStrategy and Tesla, just, absolutely killing it. And, Tim Cook just mentioned that he's into Apple, he's into Bitcoin and Ether. And it just has to happen. And it's scary for them because, they don't want it to compete with the dollar. They don't want to make the dollar less relevant. But it's like, from a national security point of view, if you don't control a significant amount of Bitcoin, it is actually dangerous for the US to not get involved. When other countries control it more than the US, with a system that is exploding at this rate, it's you have to protect the country.
Yeah. Yeah, well put. We're just seeing adoption worldwide, and it's a land grab right now. So the US has to move like they did with the internet.
Yep.
You didn't stifle infant innovation. They regulate it properly, and I hope they can get it right soon.
Yeah, and I mean, they've indicated at least that they have no plans on banning it or anything. So, I think that there are a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised if tons of politicians own it. And so it's more so about taking, you know, as opposed to like a passive. I mean, Elon made a good comment, just do nothing about it, which is actually would be good, because it would be letting innovation happen and let people decide for themselves about their, you know, their investments. And I think that like things like the Jobs Act, which we actually used when we did the equity crowdfunding round so that non-accredited investors can invest, you know, that kind of, it's like people, if you don't let people invest in these assets and, you know, make crazy tax burdens, it's like you're holding down the middle class and the lower class. Right. Like Bitcoin is the, it's like the life raft essentially. And all of these assets, not all of these assets, some of these assets, but, you know, people need to make their own mistakes. And I've heard, you know, just like how they approved the futures ETF before the spot. It's like, well, why are you doing that? That's actually more risky. And so like there are all of these SEC approved financial products that are way more risky to investors than you know, some of these major crypto assets. So I think that they need to actually take a look at their own landscape of stuff that they've approved and say, does it really make sense that we're approving, you know, this weird financial derivative crazy thing that no one understands, which is super risky, but not like a totally transparent, sound, open money system? I mean,
it's so crazy, right? And there's I hope like you said, the education happens. I know there's a lot of advocacy groups, a lot of people in DC doing some work, but we get the regulations, the clear regulations we need soon. I want to wrap it up here with some quick rapid fire questions, such as what's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Favorite musician or band?
Charlie Parker or Bob Marley or Fish.
Nice. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Probably, I don't want to say Shawshank, but I said it, so it's too late.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Shawshank. It's a great one. Favorite book?
Favorite book, I would say Brave New World.
And when you're not working in mines, what are you doing for fun as a hobby?
I like to play music. I like to play piano, guitar, and go on long walks through the woods. Serenading myself. No, yeah, I like to do kettlebells and stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Bill, pleasure chatting with you. I love what you're doing in Mines, and I look forward to seeing the new features and all the great updates. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Everyone hit me up. I'm accessible at Ottman, Ottman on Mines. And yeah, hopefully we can get you guys on there too. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going.
Awesome.